At some point this year in Park to Prem, something changed and we went from doing one match an episode to 2 matches an episode, kind of becoming the norm. I'm not sure when that happened or why that happened or how that happened, but today, a little bit of a throwback. To start February, we have a game against Man City in the league. It's first versus second. It's a must-win game as well, because if we just look at the league table, Man City, well, they are still top of the league. But the other reason I want to come back today is because we've made some signings. Not only a couple of 17-year-olds for the future, including Yannick Longello, who is 17 and I've signed for £31 million. Yeah, spent the big bucks. But as well as him, we've also picked up 5 more youngsters. Yeah, we had transfer budget. We had money in the balance. We don't have it anymore. I've splurged it all on youth players. Today is episode number 142 of Park to Prem. Lots of transfers to catch you up on. I want to talk about some of our players who have been out on loan, some of the youth players as well, and how they're getting on. Plenty to talk about. Let's run the intro, and then let's get straight into things, shall we? Yes, folks, I hope you guys are doing absolutely amazing. Welcome back to Park to Prem. Yesterday, I didn't do an away day to Charlton. There were a few disgruntled comments because the day before people had said how much they wanted to see Charlton. I will issue an apology. I was away this weekend, just gone for Father's Day, and I didn't travel back to the Monday, which meant that yesterday's video that went out on Tuesday was actually recorded last week before Father's Day. As a result of that, I didn't know that people wanted to see us play Charlton, so I didn't do Charlton. I'm sorry to the 2 Charlton fans who are in the comments. It's my bad. I'm a terrible human being. Now, of course, last episode, we did do the Carabao Cup games where we made it to the final, and I can confirm that in the final, next episode, we'll be taking on Man City. We're playing them again today as well. Last season, it was all about Arsenal. This year, it's all about the citizens. Now, since last episode, we've played 6 matches in total. Only 3 of those have been in the league, the first of which was this result here. A fantastic win against Peterborough. Things you love to see. A really, really good team performance in this game. Jamfi putting in a good performance. Bit of a rotated team. Great to get Steer some first-team football, of course. Luke Steer, 19 years old, signed in the summer. You may remember from West Ham for £39 million. He now has 3 caps for the England national team. And if we just have a look at his development, you might be wondering, how has he gone in his first few months at the club? The answer is kind of okay. Not as good as you'd hope for, but that said, still enough to get him into the England squad, which I do find a little bit baffling. After that Peterborough game, we beat FC Copenhagen 8-0 in the Champions League. Alanis with 2, Lemos with a goal, Diallo with 2, Jaime got on the score sheet as well. One of 2 Champions League goals he's got this season, and well, the goals, they continue to flow as we took on Arsenal. A really important game in the Premier League, this one. Of course, Arsenal, a team we are very, very familiar with, and as you can see from this game, drama to the last. Ahashi with a 95th minute winner. As we watch this winning goal, gentle reminder, 8 finishing. I've not seen a finish like this year in Football Manager. How has he finished that? It's gone in off both posts. He did that in the 95th minute. With it, we won the game 3-2. And Ohashi, I mean, the 8 finishing's a lie. Can we all agree with that at this moment in time? He's described as a world-class midfielder by the media in the league for us so far this year. He has been absolutely sensational. 4 goals, 5 assists, 3 player of the matches, but a 7.23 rating across 21 appearances is absolutely ridiculous. Of course, this season, the shift in system was made in part to facilitate him, and that feels like a pretty wise decision given what we're getting out of him at the moment. After the win against Arsenal, we took on Celtic, an 8-0 win again here. Lemos with a hat-trick. Paulie Parkin also picking up 2. It was great to see Parkin here continuing to develop well. Once upon a time, and my face cam kind of covers this, so you'll have to take my word for it, but he had weak for his left-footed rateness. It's now at reasonable. Yeah, we've spent some time developing his weaker foot. We can no longer train him to develop that weaker foot because he's done as much development as the game thinks he'll be able to do with it. But you can see, just looking at this man at 21 years old, what a cracking player. Having developed his weaker foot, his overall ability has dropped a little bit. That is just how Football Manager works. Nevertheless, though, he is a phenomenal talent. Was great to see him on the score sheet. After the 8-0 win, a 7-0 win in the FA Cup against Hartlepool, Parkin picked up 4, Lemos picked up 3, and most recently, a win against our bogey team. This felt good. Wolves. I hate Wolves. Wolves are annoying. I say this every time I have to talk about them. Yeah, we got a win in the end in this one. That's the long and short of it. Great little team performance. Bit of a shame we couldn't keep a clean sheet in this one because we probably deserved it when you look at the stats. But having gone a goal down inside 20 minutes, we fought back really, really well. And in fact, with this sequence of results, whilst we are still second in the league, we have a game in hand on Man City, who you may remember were unbeaten. They have been a little wobbly lately. An away defeat against Leeds United, an away defeat against Arsenal, two pretty good teams by all accounts. Just a little reminder as well, if we look at Man City, they are playing in the Conference League. And in fact, their Conference League games wrapped up way sooner than our Champions League games did. So they've been a little more rested than us. And well, today we're going to be playing them, but we're not going to get into that game just yet. Firstly, confirmation we aren't going to be entering in at the second knockout round of the Champions League, the round of 16. We ended up finishing third. Those two 8-0 wins against Celtic and FC Copenhagen were absolutely massive. We scored 32 goals in 8 games. The next highest was Atleti with 24. Unfortunately for us, because we did drop a couple of points here and there, we did finish behind Liverpool and Chelsea. In the FA Cup, having beaten Hartlepool, we have been drawn away from home against Everton. Certainly the kind of game that we look at as winnable. And well, next episode, we will have the Carabao Cup final, where we are going to be taking on Manchester City. That game is at the end of February, and in fact, it coincides with the round of 16 in the Champions League, which also has a Manchester United away day in it. So I think the next couple of episodes are going to be some pretty bumper games with some pretty important matches on the line. As for today, though, just the one game, because now I want to talk about, hey, here's where I spent £100 million. Now, you may remember, I've talked about this a little bit, after Brexit with the English kind of player registration rules, you're allowed to sign 6 players under the age of 21 from outside the UK. I didn't really sign any of those players until, well, the second half of the January transfer window, where we went mad and signed a load of young players. And in fact, one of them, not even from outside the UK, Liam Henderson here, wanted by Man City. We beat them to his signing. You might be wondering, Jack, why is he on £42,000 a week? Because I wanted to beat Man City to his signing. This guy turned 17 just a couple of months ago. He's actually capped for the Scottish national team. Started his career at St Mirren, got promoted with them last year, scoring 7 goals. Not done quite so well in the Cinch Premiership, but still a phenomenal talent to pick up. Have I overpaid for his wages? Yes, but we have to kind of prevented him falling into the hands of Man City. £7 million paid, to be honest, isn't the craziest sum of money. In terms of his actual development, he is very much a brainless winger. I mean that in the most endearing way. With that in mind, I'd like to give him a brain. And whilst brain transplants aren't a thing, we can train him as a complete forward, just to try and make him a bit more of a complete footballer. I don't want him to be a one-trick pony. I want him to be a pony that can do lots of tricks. You know, if show jumping is like a one-trick pony, I want him to be the decathlon athlete of ponies. Is there an event where ponies do 10 different things? There should be. Otherwise, the expression really doesn't make sense. Anyway, with that beautiful segue, let's talk about the other players who picked up. The first, Ladislav. I'm just going to call him Ladislav. It's just what a lad. What a great lad. I mean, I should call him by his first name, Ladislav Smedkyal? Or Smedkyal? I don't know. Look, this man is a centre-back, except he's not a centre-back, is he? Because he's got 6 jumping reach. So, we're training him to play right back. Except, apparently I'm training him. Am I training him to play roaming playmaker? That's a misclick. He's meant to be playing roaming playmaker. And the reason for that is that, as a centre-back, he's never going to have the aerial ability. But with 10 crossing, 10 dribbling, 10 first touch, he has wing-back potential about him. Of course, can play on the right, can play on the left. Is either-footed. We picked him up for a measly 8.75 million. And yes, I am aware his actual league performances for Slavia Prague haven't been amazing, but he's 18. He's only just turned 18. He's got 3 international caps, and for the measly sum of 8.75 million, it's a punt. I realise times are really changing. I'm calling £8 million measly. What has happened to me? Another reason I'm training him to play right back rather than left back, of course, he's either-footed, so we could have trained Ladislav to play either, is because we've got this guy, Gabriel Lassiaz. He is a Swiss international who's 19. Is he the weirdest centre-back you've ever seen? I mean, he's a centre-back, right, with 12 crossing, 12 dribbling. He's a wing-back, isn't he? He's left-footed. He's a phenomenal wing-back at that, a player with a load of potential, although at some point, some moment in time, someone decided to play him at right attacking mid, which I'll be honest, it's not the most mental thing I've ever seen. He probably could play as an inside forward on the right, and who knows, if he doesn't develop defensively, we might stick him out there. But at least for us right now, we're training him just to play as a complete wing-back in the left wing-back position. Crazy, crazy player, some really good mentals as well. I think the thing that really stands out with him is just the number of 14s and 15s in the mental column, combined with some really good physicals for a player who's only just turned 19 years old. Realistically, his physicals are all going to increase a little bit, you'd like to imagine, and with some good technicals in good areas for a more attacking fullback option. I think he's a good player. I've talked about it before. Wing-backs don't really exist. I think we've got two good ones here. If there's one player I've overpaid for, it's probably this guy, Hassan Madakai. He had a release clause because he's playing in Spain, and they're mandatory in Spain, aren't they, the release clauses. Playing for Villarreal, I've paid £11.5 million for him, and I mean, he's really good. He only turned 18 last December. Maybe I've overpaid slightly. Although, and this is a little bit of a tip, if you sign a player and their value's really, really high, that sometimes means they've got great potential. Of course, depending on your coaching staff, depending on how good your team is, it can sometimes be a bit deceptive. You know, 5-star potential could mean top championship player, or it could mean leading Premier League player, and there's no way to differentiate that. Given where our squad's at, if a player has 5-star potential, do the hokey-cokey, get excited, because it's all what it's all about. He's probably going to be quite a good player. Hassan here could be that kind of amazing player. He is going to need to improve a load, and mentally, I hate his personality being fickle, but he has a lot of stuff to like. Of course, the holy trinity of centre-back technicals: heading, marking, tackling. He kind of has a little bit of them all. His mentals are solid, his physicals are fine. Have I overpaid? Potentially, but you can see already developing a little bit. Really, really good training rating as well. Can I praise his training yet? I can't. As soon as I can praise his training, I'm going to do it. I suppose the other thing to acknowledge is the fact that given the fact we have £100 million and I was limited to 5 non-EU players, I could be a little bit less picky and choosy and afford to overspend a little bit on some of these players. I appreciate we are in this situation where, you know, £10 million for the player I've just shown would be a massive gamble for some teams. It's not really so much for us, and that is a similar situation with this guy here, Demir Priscalo. I hope I've done that name justice. He's actually gone back on loan to Dynamo Priscalo here. He is a left attacking mid who is right only footed, great inside forward, the kind of player who I don't think he's ever going to be as good as Cadman, but with some really good potential at the tender age of 19. To pick him up for a £12 million release clause, it just feels like sensible business. Last year, he got 7 player of the matches in 15 games. Almost half the games he was involved in at the age of 18, he was man of the match in. That, to me, bodes quite well. We've snapped him up, of course. He's out on loan, although I can still send him on an intensive language course. I should have done that sooner. I'm going to do it now. You may have noticed that I covered 4 non-UK players there rather than 5. I actually couldn't find a 5th player who wanted to join us right away, and instead, I opted to spend the big bucks on these 2 players who will join us next year and be part of the next year's kind of crop of players we bring in. The first is Cardenas. He is one of, well, Barcelona's hottest prospects. You can see here some crazy potential. Really, really good player. Either-footed, immediately a really good thing to have. Some crazy potential as well. We've snapped him up, if we look at things here, for £8.5 million, which I think is a good deal. He only had a couple of years left on his current deal at Barcelona. Going to be interesting to see how he gets on. The kind of player who we've signed very much for his potential, but he does have some good current ability. I think ultimately it's his either-footedness that kind of gave me that little extra nudge to make the kind of plunge and sign him. As for Yannick, well, Yannick Longello here, I've spent £31 million on. And as much as I can describe all the other youngsters we've picked up as punts, as gambles, as players we can afford to sign, there's no shying away from it. £31 million to anyone is a lot of money. I'll let you decide now if £31 million for this 17-year-old is an overpay. He will join us on the summer transfer window when he turns 18. I think he's absolutely phenomenal. I know he's lacking a little bit of stamina and work rate. We will probably train his endurance right away. But 17 finishing, 17 dribbling, 17 technique, really good off the ball and composure for his age. These physicals are only going to get better. I know sometimes when I've signed players in the past, people go, he's rubbish, he's not good, he's only got X sprinting or X jumping reach or, you know, Y for his balance. I think Alanis is a pretty good example of how if you have a player with some potential, you give them game time and you focus their development on the physicals, you can get some absolutely crazy gains. Of course, Alanis joined us when he just turned 18. Naturally, not every player is going to get 4 agility, 5 jumping reach, 4 pace, 3 acceleration, 3 stamina in their first few years of development. But, well, we're going to hope that Yannick can be that guy, because if those physicals improve even a little bit, he's going to be absolutely ridiculous, and he's already ridiculous, isn't he? I think he's the kind of player who in a few years' time we could look at and think, yeah, £31 million was actually a bargain. He scored 11 goals so far in 22 games for Anderlecht. It's ridiculous. That said, let me know what you think of the transfers we've picked up. I could have maybe been a bit more picky and choosy. A lot of the players we ended up snapping up actually had release clauses in them, which is why I was able to get some of them for what I feel like is surprisingly reasonable prices. Yannick here didn't have one of those release clauses. I think of all the players we've picked up, the one who I'm most excited about is Liam Henderson, mostly because he's either-footed with 20 determination and some really, really good physicals, but also because Man City really wanted him and he chose to join us. And I feel like that's a sign of progress. I mean, he's a Scottish national team player at the age of 17. In some ways, I could have maybe looked to get him a loan move, maybe even looked to promote him to the first team for the second half of this season. That said, the reason I've not done either of those things is, firstly, I'd like him to get homegrown at club, and secondly, because at least for now, I would like to have a little bit more say over his development, especially when it comes to these mentals. If I loan him out, they're not going to train him as a complete forward, and I think that's what he needs right now. Like I said in the intro, I've definitely been guilty, I feel like, in the last few seasons of not talking about the nitty-gritty of management, maybe going into a bit more detail with some of the signings I've made, some of the decisions I've made. Maybe you enjoyed what we've just done there today. Maybe I should be doing that a little bit more often, doing some training updates on some first-team players, rather than trying to get 2 matches in to each and every episode. I feel like with Football Manager, you spend such a small percentage of the game actually in matches. So much more of what is important is the stuff you do outside of games, and I think that is where maybe I need to shift the focus of episodes a teeny bit more. I don't know. I know there's some people who just like to see pretty 3D images. They're sat here thinking, I've just looked at spreadsheets for 10 minutes. Please don't make this the norm. Look, the whole game is spreadsheets. You'll get used to it. It's fine. Now, like I already mentioned, Man City been a little bit wobbly. They've lost 2 of their last 5 games. In fact, 2 of their last 4 games, Man City. And as a result of that, whilst they are above us, if we could win against them here, not only would we go ahead of them by 3 points, we would also have a game in hand. That would be big. You might remember we played them on the opening day of the season. On that occasion, it finished 2-2. We were 2-0 up. Gonna hope if we take a lead in this game today, we can hold on. Now, some good news here. When it comes to team news, absolutely everyone is available. Gianfi here, fitness test not required. Some concerns over his kind of condition, but I am going to start him in this game over Tahar. Of course, both these players are very, very good left backs. If we just compare the two of them, because I feel like sometimes it's nice to compare players just to get a better idea of things. You can see Gianfi a little bit better in the physicals department when it comes to both physicality and speed. Also, better going forward. This is the kind of comparison between players where it almost depends on what you prefer in a player in Football Manager. But for me, I always feel like physicals are key. I feel like technicals, especially going forward, are just hyper important. You can see here, Gianfi, 10 assists in 20 starts and 4 sub-appearances. Tahar, 20 starts, 12 sub-appearances, has half the number of assists. And I think ultimately, it's that kind of comparison that is pushing me in the direction of Gianfi today. Elsewhere in the team, well, everyone else in terms of starting 11 is pretty much at full strength. And here, you might notice Sula is actually going to start today's game. He's been in some crazy form. 4 goals, 6 assists in his last 10 games. He's kind of just displaced Diallo from the first team. And in fact, it might just be me, I think Sula has improved a lot this season. Is it just me, or does his polygon look bigger than it did at the start of things? If we just look at his development over the last 12 months, you can see here, he's definitely had improvements in all areas. Easy to forget, he is only 22 years old. He's the man in form. He is knocking Diallo down onto the bench, of course, signed for £40 million Diallo, really to be a squad player. So far has 6 goals and 14 assists. I will confess, fair few of those have been set pieces that he's got assists from. That said, it has been a really good return from him. He's done the job for us, and, well, you might have noticed it, on the bench, Hunt Jens is on the bench. Is he fit enough to play? Apparently, 45 minutes. He is yet to play in a league game this year. He did feature in the FA Cup match. It's great to have him back. Of course, he got that really serious injury, which, I mean, 6 months out is going to derail any player's development. But at the age of 23, I want to believe he can knuckle down. I want to believe he can be a useful cog in the machine for the second half of this season. Who knows, if we need him, he could be a man to bring on today. Anyway, we're going to submit the team and get into this game. We are away from home at the Etihad. That does fill me with a little bit of dread, especially because we know how good Man City can be. But we know how good we can be. Man City are 7th in the form standings. We're 2nd. Let's show them why we are where we are and that we deserve to be there. Everyone's positive, everyone's happy, and then De Gea is just aggressive on the bench. He's just a very angry man. In terms of Man City's team, of course, well, Haaland retired last season. We are very much at that point in time now where there's not many real players left. We are, 18, 19 years into the future. It's kind of crazy how much Football Manager we've played of this save game. I was thinking about this recently. We started this save game in November, and it's now June. Like, this is episode 142. I don't watch 142 episodes of anything. So if you are someone who's been watching each and every episode, enjoying them every weekday, can I just say right now, in this random point in this random episode, thank you. I genuinely do appreciate it. This year's Part to Prem has been absolutely nuts. And whilst I appreciate we are kind of somewhat wrapping up this series, it feels like it's coming towards an inevitable conclusion, I will remind you, there will continue to be Football Manager content all year round. I actually don't know for certain what the next Let's Play is going to be. Probably should be thinking about that around about now. I don't want to build you up with any false hope or expectations by saying, hey, recommend a save game down in the comments, but on the off chance someone comes out with an absolute nugget, I would like to know, what would you like to see? I'm opening the floor to it. I will never do a poll for viewers saying, who should I manage or what should I do? Because inevitably, if it's not the option you picked, you don't feel like you've been listened to. But I would like to get some inspiration for save games. And if you can provide the inspiration, like Alanis provided some inspiration there, it'd be appreciated. It's 1-0 here. I think Alanis is offside, so I don't really want to celebrate it. It was actually a great finish by Sula, but it's not going to count. It would have been his 12th goal of the season. Can we discuss the ball by Ohashi here? It was a really good ball. It was just offside. The finish was stupendous, but it doesn't mean anything. As I've been rambling on, by the way, we are now halfway through the first half. We've not yet had a shot on target in this game. I mean, Man City have had 8 shots, only 1 on target. We've had a goal disallowed. I'm going to get shouty here. It's not exactly been an inspirational first half an hour in this game. We're having plenty of the ball, but not really doing enough with it. And with that in mind, I'm going to make an early change here. In transition, we're going to get rid of roll it out. We're not going to have an immediate focus either. I just want to see us get the ball maybe slightly more directly into the final third, maybe not looking to hit it into space in quite the same way. We've been edging out possession. Now I'm willing to surrender a little bit of that possession to get the ball forward quickly. And we're going to look to do that here. Ohashi turns his man sensationally, cuts inside, hits it. And if he scored that would have been one of my favourite goals I've seen all season. He took the ball at the edge of the 18-yard box with his back to goal. He turned his man, he hit it. It was parried wide. We do still have a corner here. Unfortunately for us, Man City are going to deal with it. And I have just spotted Gillier, who you might remember was the the Chilean player we were looking to sign in the summer. He's playing for Man City. Can you remember we were looking at this guy? He looks amazing. I will say now, I'm not sure it's £54 million well spent. 7.1 rating? I say that. Let's not discuss what Sweeney's achieved for us. Now, you know what? In fact, let's discuss what Sweeney's achieved for us, because he's been playing more and more in the first team lately, and I feel like at this point he is just part of the best 11. If we compare him with Gillier, yeah, Gillier can jump a bit better and he's a bit quicker, but he's not got the mentals of Sweeney. And if we look at statistics and performances, I'm going to claim this is important. Look at the green. Look how good he's done. Ignore the average rating. Average rating doesn't mean anything. Sweeney's better, I think. I mean, he's on £110,000 less, which I'm going to use as further defence that Sweeney's good. But yeah, you might have spotted, actually, I should have acknowledged this really. Sweeney is playing over Rios today. Sweeney, I feel like at this point, with his potential, with how he's been doing, has to be starting with us. And it's a bit of a toss-up between Rios and Copo for who I should drop. At the moment, I'm dropping Rios, but that's certainly not a decision that's set in stone. And, well, maybe I need to change things up in this second half. I'm not sure that changing centre-backs at 0-0 is necessarily a smart idea. Defensively, we've been fine in this game, but sadly for us, a lack of cutting edge and killer instincts going forward. That singular highlight for us, really, the goal that wasn't, because it was miles offside. And, well, what would be disastrous is after a tight first half to concede early on here. Fortunately for us, we've dealt with that half chance for Man City to open the half. You can see here we have had 3 shots on target to their 1. When we get the ball forward, we do something with it. Going to tell the players actually to work the ball into the box here a little bit more. I feel like we've already been doing that a little bit in terms of not necessarily looking for quantity of chances, but just trying to create that one golden opportunity. Sula is on a 6.2 in this game. I'm going to take him off and bring in Diallo. Elsewhere, Cadman having an uncharacteristically bad game, but I think with it means that we should bring in Hunyans. That's what I've decided. Hunyans, this is your time to shine. This is your moment. He's been injured for 6 months. If he comes in now and plays amazingly, he could find himself starting a lot of games between now and the end of the season. And in fact, having made the changes, there's a kickoff highlight, or rather a goal kick highlight. Be quite an achievement to have a kickoff highlight in a 0-0 game at an hour, wouldn't it? But no, goal kick by Man City was taken. They're looking to build out from the back. We're looking to catch them out, having now won the ball with Jamfi. Coppo, Jamfi. He's going to switch over to Diallo, who doesn't get there, but it's only cleared away as far as Archer. He's going to play it to Diallo, fresh off the bench. There's players queuing up in the middle. Archer could be the man to pick them out. He pulls it to Diallo. It's cleared away by Man City, but Coppo going to keep this play alive for us. Goes all the way back to Manny Wilford. We're having a lot of the ball here right now. Can we make something happen with it? Eric, Diallo, Alanis through the middle, and Alanis into the bottom corner. I called Diallo a set-piece merchant earlier. As much as he has assisted the odd corner here and there, he also assists in open play, and he's done it again here. On off the bench, instant impact as well, it has to be said. And Alanis, he gets a lot of flack. But on this occasion there, he's stood up to the task at hand, he's tucked it away, he's given us the lead on the stroke of the hour mark. I really don't like Archer on a booking. I don't like it. I'm going to bring in Dahar and play him at right back. I know he's left-footed. He'll be fine, I hope. He's got a fairly strong right foot, according to my staff. He'll be fine, right? Naturally, if he now goes on to make a mistake that leads to a goal, I look like an idiot. But he should be a great player, Dahar, on paper. He's a player we've relied on a lot this year. A lot of people perhaps will be unhappy he's not started at left back here. He's got a chance to show us what he can do at right back. And with 10 minutes left here, this has been a bizarre game because Man City are having a lot of shots, but they've only had 4 on target. Their XG is higher than ours, but that is more just through amassing long shots and speculative efforts rather than any golden opportunities. As for ourselves, we've not created a lot, but when we have got the ball forward, we've looked dangerous, and we could look dangerous here. Hunyans, edge of the box, Eric hits it, keeper parries it. There's a mad scramble in the box, but the keeper gets there. I think Ohashi for us was our closest player to potentially getting something on it. There's 3 minutes left. I am going to make a couple of further changes here. Ohashi off for Lemos. Elsewhere, I'm going to bring in Mothercell for Grasser. Mothercell, of course, the new defensive mid addition. Grasser looking pretty exhausted in the midfield. Some fresh legs just to see out what remains of this game. It's not been a classic. It's not been one of those emphatic Guernsey performances where we score a load. It's been a performance based off some really good defensive play, having a good amount of the ball considering we are the away team. And really, there was just a couple of chances and we ended up taking one of them. Alanis, best performer for us on a 7.8. I feel like really exemplifies the kind of game it was. Not a classic by any means, but for us, it's an important win. 3 points ahead of Man City, a game in hand. And, well, it was only last episode we were trailing in the league and things didn't look so good. Now, I'm beginning to think, yeah, having bottled the Premier League last year, maybe we can win it for a second time in Guernsey's history this season. Of course, it is always the gamble you take doing a single match in an episode, that if the game is a 1-0, isn't a classic, that you feel a tad underwhelmed. But then again, that's what football's all about, right? Like, if you're a football fan, you've signed up for the 0-0s. You know what you're in for. If you're a part of Prem fan, you've signed up for the grinding out of 1-0 results at the top of the Premier League. It's what we've done really well over the last couple of seasons, to be honest. I do feel like Alanis has been a bit this season. Official terminology, by the way. He's the kind of player who on paper and on training kind of performances alone should be in the starting 11. He's been absolutely ridiculous for us. His development has been mad, but it'd be safe to say that he hasn't had that goal-scoring pedigree of kind of one of those world's greatest strikers. That said, last year he got 13 goals in 29 games. So far this season, 12 in 21. Easy to forget. The man is only 21 years old. He's only going to get better. And in fact, if we look at the Premier League stats here, you can see not only are we top of the league, which looks absolutely beautiful, but when it comes to goal scorers, we actually don't have any of the top 3 players. That said, Cadman and Alanis are in 4th and 5th. So it's not like we're without goal scorers. And when it comes to average ratings, Diallo and Cadman are actually tied at the moment, bizarrely, both on 7.44 performances. I feel like Matty Cadman doesn't really get the love he deserves, does he? I feel like we should have an International Cadman Day. I'm not sure what day it's going to be on, but I'm going to try and make it happen. Anyway, today's episode was a little bit experimental. Like I said during things, though, let me know what you thought of going through the transfers in a little bit more depth, talking a little bit more about some of the mindset stuff, the decision-making process that's been going on. On top of that, if you've got any save suggestions or just ideas for what you would like to see between now and FM22, be that Let's Plays or maybe some different kind of content you've been enjoying that maybe is content you've seen other people do that you'd like to see me do, or something that's a whole new idea, I would be interested to gauge your thoughts and opinions on that. Perhaps we should acknowledge F1 Manager. That's been announced at the end of July. I think I am going to be live streaming that over on Twitch. If you've never seen a Work the Space live stream before, oh my word, you are missing out. Can we all agree that? I mean, if you watch the streams, you can nod. You're nodding, aren't you, at home? Yeah, agree. It's bloody brilliant, trust me. Anyway, we are going to be back next episode for the Carabao Cup final and the first leg of the Champions League round of 16. 2 massive games. After that, the second leg, and Manchester United to round up the week. We've got some pretty important episodes coming up. I want to be winning everything here at Guernsey, and we sit here right now in a position to win everything. That's kind of exciting. As always, if you have enjoyed today's episode, do drop a like on it. We'll be back tomorrow with more Park to Prem action. And then until then, take it easy. It is me, Jack. I'll see you all again on the next one. I'm out.